So bringing it to the positive side here, the CEO of IBM has quoted that AI is going to add 10 trillion to the world economy by 2030. So the world economy today is about $96 trillion. That means more than 10% of the world's GDP is going to be added in next 7 years. So when the internet came along in the first 7 years, it probably added maybe 100 billion. When the smartphone came along, it probably added 500 billion in the first 7 years. And we are talking about 10 trillion here. So this is the biggest wealth transfer, wealth generation opportunity that the world has ever seen. So the people who embrace it early, they will be able to take huge advantage of it. People who ignore it or stay afraid, they will need to play a lot of catch up. The choice is ours.
Every generation has this technology that changes the direction of our work and our personal lives. Think back to the printing press, the automobile, electricity, and even TV. Well, maybe that one hasn't necessarily turned out to be a positive one. But not only has technology changed, but so has the pace of change, especially in these last 40 years. Today, the big tech that everyone is talking about is AI and how it will influence our lives for better and, as for many believe, maybe for worse. Well, today we're going to explore both sides of that equation with the world's leading thought expert on AI. Now, before we're going to get into all that, I just want to remind you, if you're interested in raising your standards as a father and a husband and an entrepreneur, then I encourage you to participate in our Band of Brothers group mentorship program. We're a group of ordinary guys working towards living extraordinary lives. You can find all this information at the Awakened Man Training Academy at members.theawakenedman.net. And with that, let's get on with today's episode.
The average man today is sleepwalking through life, many never reaching their true potential, let alone ever crossing the finish line to living a purposeful life. Yet the hunger still exists, albeit buried amidst his cluttered mind, misguided beliefs, and values that no longer serve him. It's time to align yourself for greatness. It's time to become a revolutionary man. Stay strong, my brother.
Welcome, everyone, to the Revolutionary Man podcast. I'm the founder of the Awakened Man movement and your host, Alain Dumonceaux. Before we get started, let me ask you a couple of questions. When you think of technology that is in your life, which one has had the most profound change for you? And are you concerned that AI is going to take anything away from you, or will it add to your life? The questions surrounding AI are many, and it takes deep understanding of the impact it will have in our life. The kind of understanding that comes from personal experience, blended with the science and the understanding of human potential. So I can't think of any better way than to bring on my guest at this point to guide us through this conversation. Allow me to introduce my guest. As an immigrant from a developing country and earning only $2 a day to the boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies, Manuj Aggarwal is the founder of Tetra Noodle Technologies. It's an elite tech consulting firm and a man who has been listed among the world's top AI leaders. His deep understanding and knowledge and experience in cutting-edge technologies, human psychology, and neuroscience has helped him build systems that result in exponential growth, not just for corporations, but for individuals as well. He also holds 4 patents with AI and ML and is a top-rated podcast host of Bootstrapping Your Dreams. He's an author and also a father. Welcome to the show, Manuj. How are things,
Thank you
my
so
brother?
much. Thank you so much for having me. That's a generous introduction. Excited to be here.
Oh, me too. And you reached out and we started to get some ideas and conversation about getting together. I was really interested in all the background, the breadth of experience that you bring. And before we get into all of that, I thought maybe we'll add a little bit more to the introduction and tell us a little bit about a time in your life, when you may have felt that things needed to change. This is your hero's quest, your journey.
Yeah,
what did you do about that? And how did that experience shape you into the man you are today and the work that you're doing?
The biggest experience, and it was a painful experience, this was back in 2010, 2011. I've had really good success professionally, but I've also had very bad luck with personal relationships. And that includes my parents, that includes my ex-wife now. And in 2010, I had my firstborn child, and for whatever reason, I was not able to connect with him. And that was the lowest point in my life, because up until that point, I had always blamed adults in my life for my problems, because I could just point a finger at them and say, you don't understand me, you don't listen to me. But a newborn child, my own child, I could not do that. So that led me into deep depression and suicidal thoughts. And I just didn't want to, like, I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to live a life like that. And ultimately, so I knew I needed to find a solution. So I saw therapists, psychologists, all of that stuff. They did give me some insights, but nothing, nothing that could really help me. And then I found meditation and found, how we create our own reality, started to understand our human mind, started to read about neuroscience, human psychology. And as I was doing that work, that sort of really turned my life around. That also led me to become so passionate about meditation and all of these concepts and help other people. But the interesting thing is, when I talk to other people about these concepts, nobody paid attention, because they always have an excuse. I don't have time, my mind is too busy or whatever. And because of my work in artificial intelligence, I know that artificial intelligence and human mind are a continuum of the same thing, and we can really impact one or the other through the use of others. Unfortunately, our world today is controlled by AI already, and AI algorithms today are optimized for sensationalism and creating anxiety and all that. But the technology can be used in reverse. It can be used to create more positive thoughts. It can be used to create more empowered people. It can be used to help people realize how much potential they have and unlock that potential. So that painful experience led me to the work that I do today, which is to help individuals and businesses really embrace the power of AI, and not just as a technology, but as an enabler and empowerment tool for them.
That's excellent. Wow, what a great way to start off. I just want to say my heart goes out to you as as a father of a son who struggles with making healthy choices around drugs and alcohol. And like I said, my heart goes out to you for having that, not being able to connect, and that challenge to do that. And it can be very discouraging as fathers, isn't it? And you found meditation. I was raised Catholic, and I hadn't practiced in a long time, but went and found some spiritual work and really dived in some of the new thought area. And I find myself coming back a little bit more to the Eastern philosophy, between Hinduism and Buddhism, and I just like that idea, that marriage of those two traditions.
Absolutely.
And how powerful they are. So I just want to touch a little bit more about that. And you said you started practicing meditation and seeing how that was working. For those that are maybe not as familiar, I know a lot of people talk about, they meditate, but maybe if you could help our listeners, guys, that maybe not have a clear understanding, maybe think it's some woo-woo thing, it's something I got to go to a yoga studio or something. Tell us a little bit more about how you developed the practice and how that's serving you today.
See, yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions about meditation. At the basic level, meditation is just about your ability to observe your own mind. That's it. So if you can observe your own thoughts, and you can sort of, link those thoughts back to past experiences, and where those thoughts are coming from, and have the ability to change your thought, that makes you an excellent meditator. What happens is that our life is basically controlled by our subconscious mind. So our mind, our brain, or the conceptual mind, has two parts: the subconscious mind, and the conscious mind. And the subconscious mind controls 95% of our lives, but in general we don't have access to it, and we focus on the conscious mind, and we think we are very rational in our decisions and everything. But when you start to meditate, your conscious mind and subconscious mind start to become two separate entities, and you can start to observe your subconscious mind with your conscious mind, and you can say, okay, I'm feeling depressed right now. I wonder why I feel depressed. Oh, I had this experience in the past, and I feel love for my child, and I feel hopeless today, and that's why I feel depressed. So what can I do about it? Maybe I should find some hope that will help me. How do I find that hope? Let me figure out, going by going inside, what makes me hopeful, what kind of things resonate with me. I go find that material and then I consume it. That gives me hope. That's what the essence of meditation is. Now, meditation can be done, sitting quietly in a corner, or you can take a walk in nature by yourself, or you can sit by the river. In Christian tradition, there is a concept called the labyrinth. In many ancient churches, they draw the labyrinth, and it's basically a circle, a circular maze, and you just walk in it. That's it. And when you're walking in it, you're just going deeper into your own thought process, and that's meditation. So there are several ways to meditate. I mean, I have a friend. He's really fond of motorcycle racing, and when he says when he's motorcycle racing, he forgets about the world, and that's meditation to him, right? So the idea is to just go within and look at your thoughts, analyze your thoughts, and see, are those thoughts telling you the right stories, or they are telling you the wrong stories. Generally, our minds are on autopilot telling us about. So generally they say we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and 95% of them are negative. And so if you can filter these thoughts and to turn these negative 50,000 thoughts a day into 50,000 positive thoughts a day, imagine your life, what it will be. And I have seen it in my life. I've seen it in so many other people's lives. But that's the basic concept about meditation.
I love that. I love that. And thank you so much for bringing in other traditions as well, right? The part of the thing that really attracted me with some of the new thought work was the contemplative prayer, right? Where we get an
Yeah, yeah,
opportunity
exactly.
to take a moment to really, be within ourselves. And I think as men, we tend to be more doers. It's how it's a big part of our makeup. But when we can take that opportunity to be something, to become more part of who we are and release and know and experience that other part of life, I think our lives, progress. And you're a testament to that, because I mentioned in the intro about how you went from $2 a day to being in the boardrooms of Fortune 500 companies. Tell us a little bit about that journey and how that came to pass.
Yeah, so when I was working in India, that was a tough life, and I didn't know any way out, but I knew I wanted to change my life. I wanted to experience more of what life had to offer. And one day I got inspiration reading some business magazines, and I was reading the stories of these tycoons who had built their empires starting from nothing. And that inspired me to think, okay, if these human beings who are just human beings, they can achieve these goals, and I should be able to do something better with my life. And at that point, it was not like going to, I never thought that I will be sitting in a boardroom of a Fortune 500 company, but it was more like, okay, if I can just like, afford the basics, like afford to buy a new pair of shoes every year, or like pay my fee for education and things like that. So it was like not very elaborate plans, just to get out of the situation that I was in. And then I found my passion for, with that inspiration, that I thought, okay, I need to create value in the world. I need to do something which is more, which is more in demand, or people give more importance to some skill that I currently don't have, which led me to find my passion for technology. And I really enjoyed it, like programming and coding. I really enjoyed it, and I was good at it. And that told me that I'm on the right path, and it was valued by the world, and it was the right timing as well. This was right around the dot-com boom time, so it was a good start to begin with. So the right time at the right place. And through my own curiosity, I always wanted to do two things in my work. One was always work with new technology, cutting edge technology, because as engineers or as any passionate professional, we always want to like look at the latest and greatest and play with it, and break it apart and put it back together. It's fun, right? So that's one thing. And the second thing is, I always want to work on projects which impact humanity in a positive way. So I have done a lot of work in education, a lot of work in healthcare, a lot of work in real estate. So these type of different industries where it had a direct impact on millions of users, because I realized that with the technology that we build, we can impact millions of users. And then when you see the impact, direct impact on a student who's now capable of earning more, or they would have dropped out of the university if they didn't use our technology, or somebody's joint pain is now relieved by using our technology, that feeling is priceless, right? It's just really good feeling. So when you put these two combinations together, our life always like takes you to these places where you continue to progress more, you continue to find yourself in situations where you pinch yourself. Is like, how is this even possible? Is this really happening, or am I dreaming? But it does happen. Like, the more you focus on helping other people what they want, get what they want in life, the more you get what you want in life, directly or indirectly.
And two great takeaways there. I just was making a ton of notes. One was you looked to where you could create value in the world, and at the time, and with discovering your passion for coding, you were able to do that. And then this last piece, right, about really being leaning in and helping other people succeed is truly what separates the greats from the rest of us. Now, you've also been mentioned, I know you've been mentioned in circles around folks such as Bill Gates and with President Obama. And so it's taken a while for you to get to this point. So tell me a little bit about how does that feel? How did that journey come along? That, you're obviously very highly skilled with coding and doing that work, but now, you're looking at you're rubbing shoulders with some very powerful individuals in the world.
Well, I mean, again, I have no idea how these things happen, but I want to clarify one thing. These people like President Obama and Bill Gates, they didn't mention my name directly. They mentioned the work that I have done. So, but, it happened after the fact, like after we delivered the technology, after it worked, after it impacted thousands of people, they heard of it and they said, wow, this is an amazing piece of technology. So what happened in this case was we built a technology which addresses a big problem for higher education institutions, where 30% of the students, they drop out of the university program in the first 2 years. And the reason is because they find that the subject is of no interest to them or too difficult for them. So we created AI algorithms which were optimized to match a particular student with the right set of courses, such that they will find it interesting, they will find it not as difficult to complete, and they will provide value for them in their career in the future. Wow. So that program actually reduced the dropout rate drastically. And then President Obama mentioned that, for Obama, education was a big agenda. And then Bill Gates actually invested in that project through Bill Gates Foundation.
Incredible. And what a great way. And we're going to start getting a little bit more into the AI side of it. And you've already mentioned about how we can use AI as an opportunity to do good in the world. And what an outstanding way to do that, to help us. Because I think for lots of young folks going to university, we may have an idea of what we want to do, and maybe not even that clear. But when we can use a system that helps prepare us and takes into account our likes and dislikes and anything else that you've put into that. Wow, what a powerful way to actually come out of there with something of value for themselves as well as for the marketplace. So kudos to you. I mentioned earlier on talking about how there's two sides to this artificial intelligence coin, right? And the one side we haven't yet touched on is about how there's lots of chatter about how this AI is going to take over humanity, and it's going to take all of our jobs, and we're going to be obsolete. The human race is going to be obsolete. What's your take on it, and where we are today and how it's moving forward?
So there are two questions, right? There are two questions in this which people ask me. One is about jobs. So I do want to say that there will be some job displacement, but it's not going to be job elimination, because we have to think about certain things. And let me go address these things so that I can give you the context. We are entering in a post-thinking era in humanity, meaning what? Because so far, we have always valued our ability to think and solve problems. Whoever can solve big problems, get the big bucks, get the big respect, get the big, everything. Now, machines will be doing the thinking. and they can think much better, faster than humans. So what will humans do? Humans will start to focus more on the emotional side of existence, creativity, empathy, listening to each other. These things will become more important because we won't need to do as much on the physical side. So the definition of work slowly may start to change. It may not be going to the office and filing documents and producing stuff. It may be just to spend time in the community, listen to other people. I mean, look at it this way. Therapists earn the therapists earn hundreds of dollars an hour just listening to somebody. That's all they do, right? So the definition of work itself may start to shift, and the things that we value in the world may start to shift. So these jobs that will be displaced, they will generate they will give way to new jobs, more fun jobs, more meaningful jobs, satisfactory jobs. And if people embrace this, they will be able to ride this wave and become very wealthy. And so bringing it to the positive side here, the CEO of IBM has quoted that AI is going to add $10 trillion to the world economy by 2030.
Wow.
Okay. So the world economy today is about $96 trillion. That means more than 10% of the world GDP is going to be added in next 7 years. Okay. So when the internet came along in the first 7 years, it probably added maybe 100 billion. When the smartphone came along, it probably added 500 billion in the first 7 years. And we are talking about 10 trillion here. So this is the biggest wealth transfer, wealth generation opportunity that the world has ever seen. So people who embrace it early, they will be able to take huge advantage of it. People who ignore it or stay afraid, they will need to play a lot of catch up. The choice is ours.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think like any technology, right? I still have friends today while they can use a computer, when they buy something new, they're quick to make a phone call because they're too afraid or choose not to dive into learning that piece of technology anymore and adding any type of applications or anything to it. They just stay with the core things that they're used to. And you're absolutely right. I think there's a way for us to lean into this and take advantage of it. And so I wanted to dive into a little bit about that because you talked also about the neuroscience. So I want to know, how can we use the power of our mind with AI to achieve the things that we're wanting to achieve in life?
Oh, that's very interesting. Let me give you a quick exercise here. See, this is related to meditation as well. So as I discussed earlier, meditation is basically trying to like observe your thoughts and sort of shift them. So let's say you want to achieve something, and we all want to achieve something in life. But let's take a very simple example. What do you want to achieve in next 30 days? Let me ask you that question. Let's say it's a dream come true scenario for you. Maybe you are planning a trip. Maybe you're planning something with your team at work or whatever. So what will be a really great experience for you in next 30 days?
Oh, next 30 days, would be to travel for sure, and would be to go to Australia and somewhere else I've never been, and spend some time and learn about other cultures.
Great. So you see, what happens is that when by default our mind can create that vision, but it's not very vivid. It's not very detailed. You said maybe I'll go to Australia or maybe some other place, and it's not very specific. Go to ChatGPT, sign up for a free account if you don't have one. Ask it to give that information, describe your own personality, and tell ChatGPT, you are this much, you live in Winnipeg, I'm this old, I work in this establishment, and I'm going to Australia and I'm going to another place. Write a detailed 2,000 word story about my experience in the first person as if it has already happened. Okay. And read that story to yourself every day for the next 10 days. And then you will see a new person emerge from within. And you will start to see those experiences manifest themselves in your life.
Wow, I would never have considered doing that with ChatGPT. What a great way to do that, because we could spend time, endless hours, countless hours trying to put that together. And what a great exercise. Oh, I'm going to make sure that we have
Yeah.
that as a highlight. Just love
Yeah,
that.
because what it will do is, at a neuroscientific level, it'll start to wire your neurons in your mind in such a way that that image of going to Australia, because ChatGPT will, and make sure you ask ChatGPT to give you enough details, even if they are fictitious. Give me the names of the people I met along the way, give me the names of the places I visited, the weather I experienced, because the more vivid that picture is, the more your mind is going to start moving you towards that. And that's neuroscience and AI combined. And that's just a very small example of how anybody can experience this.
Yeah, absolutely. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. And you will experience that feeling of meditation right when you first read that story the first time. And it's just a strange feeling, because nobody has done this before, and I'm surprised by. But that's what we all crave for. We all are just a bunch of stories in our head, and AI can really help you shift those stories with very fine grained details. And if you start doing this in other parts of your life, I mean, it's just a magical thing.
Oh, outstanding. Absolutely. And just think about similarly doing that in trying to solve maybe there's a work problem, a challenge. It doesn't necessarily have to be technical. It could be, but just something to help us, improve, like you said, our thinking skills. Maybe we don't have the best critical thinking skills. We didn't progress that far, take post-secondary education, but boy, you could sure utilize the ChatGPT to help you get through that and really to help develop that skill without having to spend countless hours of trying to, take classes and do all that. I think that is what a great way to utilize software or technology for our benefit, the benefit for the world, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Outstanding. Now you talked about being a father, and I just wanted to go back a little bit about that. And how has fatherhood provided a different perspective for you in your work? Has it influenced you at all in the work that you're doing?
I think everything flows through that, because once you become a father, and more this is for most fathers, that becomes the center of your universe. And when something becomes the center of the universe, that becomes like the conduit for everything else. Like if I don't feel satisfied as a father, sometimes I feel I'm not doing good work in my profession. And I later realized they are both so interlinked that I need to first fix my problem with my son before I can hope to fix the big problem with my work, because they are so interrelated. And then what I tell people is, it may not be the fatherhood aspect for you. It may be the adventurer in you. Maybe you like to travel, maybe you like to fish, maybe you like to write poetry. Everybody has their own, lens on life. So if you start living your life through that lens, then that becomes the central piece of your existence. And I highly encourage people to really embrace it, and spend enough time on those pursuits, so that the energy you gain from those pursuits can be applied in the commercial or the professional pursuits that you have. It's basically a circle of energy. If you get positive energy being with your son, spending time with the family, that's the investment you're making in yourself. Because when you go out there in the world trying to achieve professionally, you need that energy to spend. So it's like a bank account, right? And yeah, so please don't ignore these important aspects of your existence. Fatherhood is big.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, really great answer to that question. Love that. And you've already started to play with this neurodiversity idea and how we can use it for success. But I really want to unpack that a little bit more and really get folks an understanding of what you mean by that term neurodiversity, and how we can really use that to propel our lives forward.
See, when we look at humanity, 8 billion people, we all have different perspective on life. We all come from different backgrounds, different experiences. Even if we are born as a twin, we experience life differently. If you give them a specific problem, they'll solve it differently. They'll have different skill sets. So neurodiversity is about bringing people who think differently, who have different backgrounds. Because when you work on complex problems, you don't want to just look at it from one angle. You want to attack that problem from multiple angles. And if you have people who think the similar way, unfortunately, that happens a lot because we feel comfortable with people who don't think differently than us, right? We want to feel secure and we want to feel homogeneous, familiar with the people that we work with. But that's the downfall, in my opinion, in many organizations because they just don't have different perspectives. And the world is very complex. So if you come up with a solution which only takes into account, one aspect, let's quickly take an example, and I may get a lot of hate for this because I'm picking on a favorite company, Apple. Apple introduced a headset, a virtual reality headset recently, and they priced it for 3,500 US dollars, right? Now, whatever their process is, I know that they are not targeting somebody like a student, somebody like, enthusiast about virtual reality because the price point is so high. So they probably did not have a neurodivergent angle about the pricing of this product, because if they had considered it, then they will price it around 300, 400, $500, which is where most of the virtual reality headsets they stay. So now they have they have introduced this product which is out of reach for most people, but that demonstrates the the aspect of neurodiversity where if you have a person who maybe grew up in a poor household, will raise a point because of their experience that, hey, this is way too overpriced. And if somebody comes from different country, they'll probably say, okay, when do you think we can launch this in a foreign language, a different language? So these type of things we don't think about unless we have a personal experience of that sort. And when you have a team with different experiences, neurodivergent people, you get these different angles of humanity that you have not considered. So that's the reason why it's so important.
Yeah, completely agree with that. And you're talking about the neurodiversity, and the phrase that comes to my mind is the echo chamber. Right? We tend to have this. We have these certain pieces, of individuals, maybe it's media channels, whatever it is that we lean towards because we agree with it. It keeps us feeling safe, and when we can recognize through practices like meditation, contemplative prayer, other practices, we can realize that we are truly safe regardless, and be able to be in a place where we can have this neurodivergent idea of thought to help expand what it is. And we may not be creating the next greatest technology, but even in our own lives, in our personal lives, how much better, how much stronger can we become if we're willing to be able to accept other ideas and thoughts? Doesn't mean we agree with all of it, but to be aspects that challenge who we think we are as individuals, what our belief systems are, and I think there's lots of power in that when we look at it, because too many of us carry beliefs that no longer serve us, and the challenge is we don't even know that, and it's limiting our movement forward. Love that. You also talk about successes, and one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, what would be the fastest, sure way for someone to become a millionaire in today's economy and today's technology?
So, first of all, you have to define what success means for you. A lot of people don't know what success means for them. So I do an exercise with people when I coach them or mentor them, and that's like a 7-level deep why. So I ask them, okay, you want to become a millionaire. Tell me why. And they'll say, oh, I want to enjoy life. And then I'll say, why? Or I can say, what does that mean? So then they'll say, oh, I want to go to the beach, I want to travel. I said, okay, that's fine. Now you have, assume that you have enough money, you are traveling. Now what? Do you want to travel for the rest of your life or what? No, no, no. I want to travel for 1 year and then I want to buy a home for my family. So when you start going deeper and deeper and deeper, ultimately you will not find another reason, another depth. And that is your purpose. That's your, so some people will say it'll land, oh, I want my family to do well. That is my core purpose. I want my kid to go to a great school. That is my core purpose. So if that is your definition of success, then phrase it that way rather than saying, I want to make $1 million, because then you're working towards that success and it may end up costing $2 million. Who knows? But once you have clarity, again, create that clarity in more vivid detail. And again, I gave you this exercise. How will you feel when you have achieved that goal? How will you, what feeling will you have? Who will be around you? Where will you be? Like, just imagine that experience as if it has already happened. And people may think this is all woo woo stuff, but I'm coming to the practical stuff as well. So you have to you have to remember that feeling, because everything that we do, we think that we want that job, a promotion, we want to earn a lot of money or whatever it is. At the end of the day, we are searching for that feeling that will give us uh,
Absolutely.
when we achieve that goal. So you need to become familiar with that feeling by describing in vivid detail what does that look like for you. And then you need to work backwards from there to say, okay, I want to be here in this particular time frame. And time frame is very important. So you cannot just say, I want to become a millionaire, but you need to say, I want to become a millionaire by December 31st, 2024. And I give myself 1.5 years. So now you have a time frame, you have a goal. Now you start to work backwards and say, okay, what does it take to make $1 million in the next 18 months? That means, 1 million divided by 18. This is how much I need to learn on average. 60,000. Let's say I'm not good at doing this math in my head. So let's say you want to make 60,000. That means on average you need to make 2,000 a day, right? So now you have a target that is more sort of, you can grasp that target and say, what do I need to do in this world to be able to make $2,000 a day, whether it's a weekend or not, right? And so now, again, utilizing our friend ChatGPT, you can say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm really good at, I have a background in technology. I have a background in culinary arts. I have done this. These are my accomplishments, and this is what I'm good at. This is what interests me. Give me some ideas which can help me generate 2,000 a day, right? And then, okay, give me some tactics that I can take, that I can do today to get to that level. Give me, some ideas on how I can execute these tactics. Give me some ideas on who can help me to get there and how do I reach out to them. All of these ideas are the building blocks or the puzzle pieces that we anyway have to do to reach that goal. But the thing with AI is it is making it so easy to ask that question and get a good answer back. So one thing I always tell people is, let's say you are running a business, and we all know business always depends upon the strength of the team, people around us. So imagine, if as a business owner, if tomorrow you can hire an employee who has a PhD in science, PhD in medicine, PhD in law, PhD in history, anthropology, all of these topics, and it is available to you for free or very cheap and never takes a day off and available all the time. How much growth you will have in your business with that employee. So that's what AI is to you now, to accomplish your goals in this way. So now you can see, like, step by step. Use AI to visualize your goal, clarify your goal. Use AI to build strategies, figure out how to get to that goal. Use AI to find the tactics to implement those strategies. Use AI to figure out who can help you to get there, and use AI to figure out how to reach out to those people. And those are, like those are the things that are fundamental to any success story. Most people fail at one or more of these things, and now this companion can help you with all of these.
Wow, what a great way to bring in AI and that chat GPT. I would not have considered that, the way you framed it about how we can use it so for problem solving and just about everything. Well, actually everything in our life. It might not be able to show us how to cook, but it'll give us the recipe. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
But the thing is that I think, what I'm really getting out of this conversation is that there's an opportunity here to lean into some new cutting edge technology, and how we are starting to marry our mindset with that. We can really make some profound changes in our life. Even if it's only personally, it's still a profound change for our lives and for humanity.
Yeah, yeah,
You've been
absolutely.
on a long journey here, Manuj, with, where you are, where you started from to where you're in your career is today. What would you say was the best piece of advice you've been given?
Best piece of advice I've been given is focus on relationships and communication. We all tend to think, we are all, this smart, we have done this, I have this degree, this MBA, PhD, whatever it is, doesn't matter in this world. What matters is how empathetic you are towards others, how you can connect with others, how you can listen to others, how you can help others and build those relationships. Because that's the true wealth. That's true wealth.
Absolutely. I've heard it said our net worth is
Yeah.
in direct proportion to our network.
Yeah,
Building
exactly.
relationships is incredibly important.
Mhm.
Of everything that we've spoken about today, and maybe there was something we didn't get a chance to touch on, what would be the one takeaway you'd want our listeners to have?
One takeaway is, humans are always worried and stressed over things that are unknown. But I believe we are sitting on the threshold of such a major change, an era of abundance and prosperity. I implore people to explore this technology and really embrace it, not be scared, not give in to the fear, and really transform their life and their families' lives and their communities' lives using this technology. It's revolutionary.
Yeah, it sure is. And like I said at the start of this whole podcast today, was that every decade almost there's been technology that has shaped humanity, has changed us, and those that get in on it early and start to play with it and understand it are the ones that end up by leading us forward through. And so I just want to say once again, thank you so much, Manuj, for helping us get a better understanding of what AI is all about and how we can actually use the power of our minds with technology to serve a greater good. If folks are interested in getting a hold of you and participating in any of your work, what would be the best way for them to reach you?
I think LinkedIn will be the best way. Just find me on LinkedIn, tell me that you heard me on this podcast, and what are you trying to accomplish in your life or business, and how we may be able to help you.
Outstanding. I'm going to make sure that and any other social media links you'll have to, in the show notes for today's episode so people can get a chance to reach out to. I want to say once again, thank you so much, my friend. It was an outstanding conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the Revolutionary Man podcast. Are you ready to own your destiny? To become more the man you are destined to be? Join the brotherhood that is The Awakened Man at theawakenedman.net and start forging a new destiny today.